I'm going to be sharing with you in this video how to alchemize negative emotions into something positive, into what you prefer to be experiencing instead, because negative emotions and challenges are always going to be happening in life, but what we do with those situations, what we do with those emotions is really where the magic happens and where we can actually turn something negative into a positive. And in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you exactly how you can actually do this. So if you're new to this channel, what I want you to do is I want you to hit that subscribe button. I want you to hit that notification bell because I do post a new video every single day. Also, if you want to work with me one-on-one personally, hit the link that's in the description box of this video to apply for a free consultation. This is going to be how to alchemize negative emotions into what you prefer. So the first thing that I want to share with you is to surrender completely to whatever it is that you're feeling or experiencing. Just completely surrender. And when I say surrender, I don't necessarily mean allow the feelings just to be there. I do mean allow the feelings to be there, but I mean there's a way to surrender that I found in my experience where the emotion actually isn't even perceived as negative anymore, and it does actually, weirdly enough, start to change the experience. So that level of acceptance, that alchemy, in the beginning is not about changing the circumstances at all. It's about just totally accepting the situation, totally accepting the emotions, completely surrendering to what's happening. But then weirdly enough, that actually starts to change the circumstances and starts to change what you're experiencing. And it's very powerful. I've personally found this to be very powerful in my life. I've actually used this with the health issues that I have. I use the health issues as an excuse to become a better version of myself, to alchemize that challenge. And actually what I found is that it's actually guided me and pushed me to become extremely healthy. So those health issues were just sort of pointing me in the direction to realize something that I needed to realize. And it started off with just a complete surrender, almost as if I imagined that I was never going to be able to remove this emotion from my life ever again, just to completely allow it to be there. But the thing is that there's a level of acceptance that you can get to where you sort of embody a certain frequency, where once you embody this frequency, what happens is that it does start to actually change the circumstances. It changes even the emotion. That emotion stops becoming negative, and the negative emotion starts to change. So personally for me, when I'm experiencing a really, really negative emotion, my body starts to sweat, right? And that's a circumstantial thing that happens as a result of my reactivity to the present moment, right? But if I completely surrender to the negative emotion, to the circumstances, I allow the circumstances, not from a space of saying like, oh, I'm just gonna let myself feel negative. It's almost like I transmute that negative energy and I turn it into something positive. So it's really hard to communicate this because communication is limited and language is honestly limited for what I'm trying to communicate here. Because once you're on the other side and once you're actually surrendered, what happens is that that situation starts to change and the circumstances. So for me, I'm not sweating as much when I'm totally surrendered. When I'm completely surrendered, and I still do sometimes, obviously, if I have some sort of like anxious thoughts or some sort of anxiety, it still happens. But by the time I'm on the other side of that wave of negative emotion, I'm fine that, and I don't have the same physical, tangible experience, which I think is very interesting because what you find is that we get stuck in this loop where we think that we're going to be stuck in this circumstance forever, but this too shall pass, right? Nothing lasts forever. And so the first step is to surrender completely. Now, the second thing that I want to share with you in terms of how to alchemize negative emotions into what you prefer, which is very powerful, is radical action. This is very critical because you cannot get to alchemy and true magic by doing the same things that you've already been doing. You have to do something differently because that's what unconditional love is. It's you loving the moment so much that you choose something else from a space of seeing that what's happening now is no better inherently than that next thing that you're moving on to. That's what it means to move the energy as a free spirit, right? You move on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. You keep moving the energy, but you don't perceive one circumstance or the next circumstance as worse or better than the other. you just kind of go with the flow and you see that it's all equal universally speaking. And so radical action, continually doing new things, or at least changing the place that you come from, but actually just taking different actions, can completely change the way that you are as well. So what you want to do is definitely start to alchemize those negative emotions by taking different actions, by doing different things. Radical action, just start taking massive action. And when you do this, it's not coming from an overly pushy sort of masculine space where it's going to take action. It's actually, you're doing what recharges you, what feels rejuvenating, what feels nice, what connects you to your higher self, to your spirit. You feel connected. You feel like you're in the flow. That's the flow state. The flow state is non-forceful radical action. Write that down. I'm going to leave a comment down below and remind you that that is the power you have to change your reality. Non-forceful radical action. This is the key to alchemy. So when you start to do this, what you'll find is that your reality starts to change rapidly, and the things that you perceived as negative are no longer negative, first of all. Second of all, they fade away almost as if they never even existed. And even if they do, linger for a little bit, you don't even care anymore. And by the time you don't care anymore, which you maybe even spend so much time trying to figure out, how do I remove this negative emotion? How do I remove this situation from my life where it's causing so much anxiety for me? And typically what you'll find is that the situation usually happens as a result of that negative emotion and the reactivity. And if you can remove the source of the situation, which oftentimes we're very unconscious that the situation is a result of the negative emotion and the reactivity, and not even necessarily the emotion, but the reactivity that we create to the emotion. Because if you just observe the emotion, don't resist it, let it pass by, it fades away pretty quickly. But when we resist and we fight and we react to the reactivity itself, and we don't just let it go, because letting go is a skill. It's a muscle that you train yourself to do every single day. You just let it go. If you have a negative emotion, just let it go. Take radical action instead. Don't think about it, just let it go and then take radical action. What you'll find is that you start to alchemize that negative emotion and it fades away. And whatever negative experience or circumstance that resulted as a result of that negative emotion will also fade away relatively quickly, depending on how much momentum you've gained in that direction. But it will fade away eventually if you keep that momentum in that positive direction of being surrendered completely to the situation and not resisting, and holding that light, holding that frequency of abundance, holding that frequency of, I don't see one situation as any worse or better inherently than the other. Because of course, relatively speaking, we have preferences, but inherently it's all equal and universal. And that's of course what unconditional love is. Now, number three, the final thing that I want to share with you is, who do you want to be now? Okay? Because personally, there's been times where I went through serious health issues like the eczema that I'm still going through now, but I'm much, much better. Thankfully, thank God that I'm much better. Thank myself for having courage to overcome and get better with this situation that I'm dealing with, but it's much better now, so don't worry about me. Now, there's been times where what I needed to do was be fearless, to have courage to take certain actions, not from a forceful place, but just to surrender and allow life to guide me to where I need to go, to let go of whatever it is that was causing my issues. But what the mind can do is it can say, oh, I can't do this yet because fill in the blank, right? And oftentimes it's an excuse. It's an excuse, and it's the ego trying to keep you stuck. And of course, there's limitations. Sometimes we genuinely don't have capacity. We genuinely don't have the energy to take certain actions. This is why I always talk about non-forceful inspired action, non-forceful radical inspired action. You can sort of gauge your energetic capacity in terms of how much you're able to do and what you're able to take action on. But also you want to be conscious of, where are you making excuses in terms of who are you not being, because you believe that what's happening to you is a limitation for you to be who you prefer to be now, right? You always want to be conscious of that. And now I'm speaking from personal experience. I don't want to come off as some guru or some teacher. Like I said, for me personally, this happened a lot where it's like, oh, I can't record a video today because I don't feel like I'm healthy enough. And that was true for many months. I genuinely needed to take some time off. But eventually I thought to myself, okay, I'm a little better now. And it's like almost like this part of me is like, no, I can't do that because I'm not healthy enough yet. And so, actually, I was pretty good about 2 weeks ago, but now I'm kind of choosing to stay stuck in a loop. So this is where you want to be honest with yourself and just see, where are you not doing more? And so it's a good place to start to ask yourself, who do you want to be now? If your limitations were not a thing, who could you be right now? Could you take those actions? And I understand, it's not easy to take action in a new direction when there's so much momentum in a certain direction. It's very compelling, it's very convincing when you're moving in a certain direction, especially when it's a negative circumstance of some kind. It's very compelling to keep going in that direction. But you do want to have courage and fearlessness to step into that next level and reverse that momentum that you don't want to be experiencing. And this is very powerful. It's something that you can do that is going to allow you to get to that next level. If you sort of just ask yourself, who do you want to be now? Who would you be now if you didn't have those limitations? Could you embody what you want to be now? Could you? Just ask yourself. Maybe you don't have the capacity. If that's true and that's what truly feels resonant in your heart, then honor that. But tune in, really tune into your energy. Can I embody this now? Really, just be honest. I don't just mean it as, because a lot of people talk about this on YouTube, but it's like, oh yeah, just embody who you prefer now, law of assumption. No, I really mean just tune in. Can you be that person now? Can it be normal for you to be that person now? Does it have to be a big deal where you feel resistance? Because it's so funny. What I find is that, for example, with my eczema, let's just say I'm having a huge flare up, super itchy. That's what happens when you have eczema, super itchy, a huge flare up, lots of anxiety, lots of negative momentum going in a certain direction. It's like, oh, I can't go outside for a walk because I feel so bad. But it's like, if I go outside for a walk, my mind created a story where it's like, oh, if I'm going to go outside, I'm going to be resisting the whole process and it's going to be difficult and I have to push myself. But actually, if I ease myself to that walk, if I ease myself, it's just slowly through inspired action, by the time I'm in the walk, I'm calm, I'm peaceful, I'm connected, and there's no resistance. See, thinking creates resistance. By the time you're already in that new action, you're not feeling the resistance anymore that was telling you that you couldn't take that was the reason you couldn't take that action. I'm gonna say that one more time. When you're in the negative momentum and you're feeling resistance, that resistance is gonna tell you that you're gonna feel that resistance when you're in the new action. But what you find is that when you're in the new action, when you're already alchemizing, you're not feeling the resistance anymore. The resistance is going to convince you why when you're doing that action, it's going to be hard, it's going to be difficult. No, it's not difficult. It's actually very simple. It's very easy. I thought my microphone fell. It's very easy once you're already doing it. Once you're already being that person that you prefer to be. And with that, I conclude this video. Once again, if you want to work with me one-on-one personally, hit the link that's in the description box of this video. Also, please hit that like button for me so that more people can get access to this content, because I do believe that every single person on this planet does deserve to know that they are the creators of their reality and they can manifest their reality and get what they truly want, helping others in the process in the most effortless and easeful way possible. Hitting that like button does help the YouTube algorithm push the videos out to more people, which I believe, again, everybody deserves to get access to the content. Leave a comment down below if you enjoyed this video. As always, enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video.